In our last video, we have used sliding mode control. In that video, we have used input u equal to minus x2 minus rho sine x1 plus x2. The input u can be formally derived. In this video, we are going to look through the derivation for input u. We will do this derivation very slowly as there are many finer parts in this derivation. So we will be very careful in every step. Let's hope that it is interesting. The system definition remains x1 dot equal to x2, x2 dot equal to u plus f. Let us take a look at the responsibilities of u. The u has to bring the states x1 and x2 to 0 as time tends to infinity, and it has to do this in presence of disturbance f. So it has to deal with the disturbance. From our previous experiments, we know that to take any state to 0, we need to equate the negative of the state to its derivative. So suppose if we want to take x1 to 0, so x1 dot equal to minus x1. This will take the state x1 to 0 as time tends to infinity. As x1 goes to 0, x1 dot also goes to 0. It shall be noted here that this is valid for everything in general. Let the variable be anything, alpha, sigma. If we follow the same strategy, we can bring that variable to 0. There is one more way to look into this. Until the state follows this rule, it is going to go to 0. So x1 dot equal to minus x1, until the state is following this rule, it will ultimately end up to 0 as time tends to infinity. If we rearrange this, it is x1 dot plus x1 equal to 0. Let us call this sum of x1 dot plus x1 is equal to sigma. So if we can keep this sigma at 0, then the state x1 is going to 0 as t tends to infinity. Thus our objective will be to bring the sigma to 0 and keep it there. Now the objective is to bring sigma to 0. So how to do that? We can use the same strategy that we are always using to make sigma dot equal to minus sigma. Thus sigma will go to 0 as time tends to infinity. Then the x1 dot plus x1 will be 0, and then x1 can go to 0. But there is a problem with this, as till the time equal to infinity, sigma never becomes 0. So x1 dot plus x1 will not be 0. Thus we need to find something else. So now we need the sigma to go to 0 in finite time. So the strategy of sigma dot equal to minus sigma is not going to work. Let us take a look at what happens in sigma dot equal to minus sigma. If we apply Euler's formula in this to solve the differential equation, we get sigma of n plus 1 minus sigma of n equal to delta t times sigma of n. Here delta t is the step time, sigma of n is the present value of sigma, and sigma n plus 1 is the next or the future value of sigma. As the value of sigma reduces, the factor delta t sigma of present value becomes very small. Thus, the subtraction part becomes very small. So, the future value becomes almost equal to the present value. So, the part that is taken away in every step becomes very small as time progresses. Thus, it takes infinite time to settle or to go to zero. That is why sigma dot equal to minus sigma is not meeting our requirement. Let us find the equation in which that subtracting factor doesn't become very small as sigma becomes small. Let us try sigma dot equal to minus sigma to the power half. So sigma dot equal to minus sigma to the power 0.5. Let's apply the Euler's equation to this to solve the differential equation. We get sigma of n plus 1 equal to sigma of n minus delta t sigma of n to the power 0.5. So what is happening here is the future value equal to present value minus some factor, that is step time, multiplied by sigma of n to the power 0.5. This will have a major impact. In every iteration, the factor is going to reduce from the present value, but as sigma becomes small, the square root of that smaller value is not going to be a very small value. It is going to be a bigger value. Because of this, even before time goes to infinity, the factor of sigma can go to 0. We can see the same in a simple simulation. We can see the sigma going to 0 in a finite time. If we look again at our solution of sigma, it has a factor of sigma to the power 0.5, that is root over of sigma in the solution. Because of this, the negative values of sigma will create a problem. Suppose the first value of sigma, suppose we start with a negative value of sigma, then we won't find any solution for it. And this can really happen. Sigma is x1 dot plus x1. Let us take a case in which the body starts at position 5 and velocity minus 10. In this case, sigma is negative. So there is no assurance that sigma will always be positive. So we have to find a way to deal with this problem. Before doing that, let us discuss an observation for the states that are directed towards 0. For the states which will go to 0 as t tends to infinity. For those states, say x1 dot equal to minus x1 or any other form of equation which is making them to go to 0, which is making it to go to 0, we can see that the x1 dot and the x1 are having opposite sign. If we take the x1 as position and x1 dot as velocity, when the body is at positive position, the velocity should be negative and vice versa for the body to go to 0. This will be always valid for those states going to 0. If you take a look at the graph for x1 versus t, if when the x1 is positive, if we take a look at the slope, it is negative. Similarly, when the x1 is negative, the slope is positive. So this is one point that we should keep in our mind, that for these states which are directed towards 0, the x1 dot and x1 will have opposite sign. That's why x1 dot multiplied by x1 will be less than 0. This can be any state. If we consider to take our sigma to 0, this will be valid for sigma also. So sigma dot multiplied by sigma should be less than 0. Remember this equation, sigma dot multiplied by sigma being less than 0. We are going to use it in further derivation. As we have discussed that we couldn't assure whether the sigma is always going to be positive or not. To deal with this, let us take a new variable v, which is half sigma square. This variable v will always be positive irrespective of sigma being positive or negative. Now rather than taking sigma to 0 in finite time, let's take v to 0 in finite time. As v becomes 0, sigma becomes 0. So as v becomes 0, sigma becomes 0, x1 dot plus x1 also becomes 0. To make v 0 in a finite time, we will use the same strategy as v dot equal to minus v to the power half. Again, as you remember, sigma directed towards 0 or sigma going to 0, sigma dot is less than 0. What is sigma dot? Sigma dot is x2 dot plus x2. Our final aim is to simplify this in terms of control input u. So for the x2 dot, we will replace it by u plus f. Now putting these values in the equation, we get sigma multiplied by u plus f plus x2 is less than 0. Please take a note about this part very carefully. Here u has to take care of three things. The u has to ensure that this whole multiplication is less than 0. This multiplication should be less than 0 even in the presence of disturbance f. You have to nullify the x2 first of all. So u will be minus x2 plus something. There is a mistake here, it should be u equal to minus x2 plus something. Again, to make this whole multiplication less than 0, when the sigma is positive, the whole factor inside this bracket should be negative and vice versa. So depending on the value of sigma, the u should also vary. So u should be signum of sigma multiplied by some factor, and this should happen in presence of disturbance. If the bound of the disturbance is say L, so this factor of u, the factor of signum of sigma, should be so big to counter this bound of disturbance. But the output of the signum can only be +1 or -1. So we multiply a factor rho which will take care of this bound of disturbance. So the value of rho should be high enough such that it can take care of the disturbance. So as I mentioned, you should take care of three things. First, it should take care of x2. Second, depending on the sigma, it should change its sign. Third, it should take care of the disturbance. Taking all this together, u equal to minus x2 minus rho sine sigma. If we expand sigma, then u equal to minus x2 minus rho sine x1 plus x2. This is the equation we have already seen and we have already used it. In the next video, we will see how to find out the value of the factor rho depending on the bound and few more things.